Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. Most people would tend to agree that dissolving a marriage is rarely a suitable outcome to resolving a troubled marriage. If this is the case, then why do so many people opt for divorce? What is it about marriages these days that causes so many people to give up? And why do so many people fail to see the long-term costs of divorce? Women initiate 70% of divorces in Western nations, and this is because women believe that divorce is the best path to take in that moment. Their short-sightedness and solipsism, combined with modern political ideals, makes them believe that divorce is liberating and empowering, but it may not always be as liberating and empowering as most people might think. Maybe for women, financially, it might be, given they inherit their man's wealth. But if you consider the bigger picture, no one wins in a divorce, except for maybe the lawyers and the real estate agents. Something that is not often thought about are the costs and losses associated with divorce. They are very real and can cause some of the biggest losses that people experience in their entire life. They can affect you and the people you're close to for a very long time. Here are the costs that you need to consider before you initiate a divorce. Cost number 1, the investment cost. By divorcing someone, you are forfeiting the continuity of that relationship. You are giving up your investment, and this investment is often underestimated and pays more dividends the longer you're with someone. This is because the quality of the connection improves due to the increasing layers of emotional satisfaction erected over the years. Decades of marriage cannot be easily replaced within 2 years of another relationship. On the other hand, tremendous benefits flow to couples who remain committed. From this alliance come efficiencies such as complementary skills, a division of labour, and a sharing of resources. In addition to this, committed couples can present a united front against mutual enemies and a stable home environment for rearing children. People who fail to stay together incur severe costs. The family is ripped apart, financial resources are split, while the costs double. Children may also be exposed to potentially dangerous step-parents. The freedom that people often seek from divorce is frequently a very false reality. In addition to this, you may spend the next 20 years trying to find someone, which you could have used to fix the marriage and begun to enjoy the fruits that continuity of marriage provides. The longer this continuity persists, the stronger the bond, and the less likely someone is able to outperform that person in a future relationship. Cost number 2, divorce destroys men. If you're a man, the probability that divorce will cripple you is extremely high. It could take decades to work through the financial and emotional trauma that emanate from a divorce. It could easily cost a man several $100,000, which will most likely leave him broke for decades. A man will forever be a financial servant to his former family, more than he was in the marriage. A man often receives minimal privileges for all his hard work, and he is unable to watch his children grow up, the children he works so hard to support. Cost number 3, divorce destroys women. If you're a woman, the probability that you're able to find another man of the calibre that you believe you're entitled to is extremely low. If a woman's much older than the last time she was in the sexual marketplace, her mate value has probably declined significantly compared to what it was prior to marriage. A woman's appeal to men of all ages is tied directly to her reproductive ability, and this decreases with age. Having children is another factor that lowers a woman's mate value to other men. If a man has a choice between a woman without children and that same woman with children, he will pick the former every single time. A woman who struggles to find the relationship that she wants will be inclined to remain single until she meets a man that is an upgrade from her ex-husband. As this woman ages, she declines further and will become increasingly less likely to find a man who meets her requirements. This leaves her with 2 undesirable options: stay single or settle for a lower quality man, both of which will make her miserable. Cost number 4, divorce destroys children. The biggest impact that divorce has is actually to the children when the father is pushed out of the family home. Fathers play a key role in parenthood, to which no woman can ever provide. For a young boy, having a strong male role model around enables him to learn and imitate strong masculine behaviours. For a young girl, having a strong male role model will teach her values and what she should expect of a man. It will serve as her basis for all her future relationships with men. Here's what happens when the father is taken out of the home. These statistics come from the Rochester Area Fatherhood Network. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes, 5 times the average. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes, 32 times the average. 85% of all who show behaviour disorders come from fatherless homes, 20 times the average. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes, 14 times the average. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes, 9 times the average. Children with fathers who are involved are 40% less likely to repeat a grade in school. Children with fathers who are involved are 70% less likely to drop out of school. 75% of adolescent patients in chemical abuse centres come from fatherless homes, 10 times the average. 70% of youths in state-operated institutions come from fatherless homes, 9 times the average. 85% of all youths in prison come from fatherless homes, 20 times the average. Daughters of single parents without a father involved are 53% more likely to marry as teenagers, 711% more likely to have children as teenagers, 164% more likely to have a premarital birth, and 92% more likely to get divorced themselves. Divorce will rip a massive hole in your relationship with your children, as well as their development and all their future relationships. It's also very evident from the data available that forming a new family with a stepfather or mother does not solve this problem. Step-parents don't do as well with other children as they would with their own biological children. Step-parents that foster the growth of other children better than biological parents are the exception, not the rule. The children and the step-parents get in the way of each other, which puts pressure on the biological parent who only has a finite amount of love to split between the two. This is the basis for a lot of ongoing issues in these relationships, and this is one of the reasons why you should never date single mothers. For the children, divorce causes more damage to their development than any other factor except sexual abuse and physical abuse. Divorce is the biggest handicap of future economic success when comparing every other discriminatory factor, including race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and financial background. Any interruption to a strong relationship in a child's life will cause them significant emotional damage. The closer the attachment, the more issues this causes. For children of divorce, their first interrupted relationship will be with their mother and father. Because of the separation, the mother and father have reduced time with the child, which hinders the child's development. The more significant the emotional detachment, the more trauma it'll cause. Families of divorce also expose the children to other potential traumatic detachments. When a child is introduced to a new caregiver who invests in that child, trauma is caused when the bond is broken. This opens up opportunity for trauma from significant others, from step-parents and nannies, all of which generally feature prominently within broken homes. In fact, changing babysitters or nannies is likely to cause more trauma for the children than the disruption to the parent-child relationship. Mother and daughter Elizabeth and Amelia Warren explore this in their book, The Two-Income Trap. A single mother who goes to work and leaves her child with a nanny 5 days per week means that the nanny has adopted the primary carer's role. The child will develop an emotional attachment to the primary carer in the same way that the child would with their biological mother. When the nanny resigns or is no longer required, the break in the emotional bond experienced is equivalent to that of a mother as the primary caregiver abandoning her child entirely. This is the largest cost of divorce. In talking with many divorced women, I've come to notice a common pattern. None of the 20 or so divorced women that I've had a deep and meaningful conversation with has ever taken personal accountability for the failure of their marriage. Women will often hide behind some bullshit like, "Oh, I wasn't happy," or "the child's happiness depends on my state of happiness. How can my child be happy when I'm not happy?" No, this could not be further from the truth. These women are selfish, self-absorbed, and ignorant. They are putting their happiness above their child's happiness, and they will justify their decision any way they can. Many women become aggressive and emotional when challenged, so I know I'm striking at a truth that has been banished from their consciousness. These women are just not capable of accepting that they've set their child back in life by separating them from their father, unless the father was sexually or physically abusive. When I present this fact to them, they also try and convince me that they were being emotionally abused, in a last-ditch effort to salvage some respect. Unfortunately, blatantly lying does not garner my respect either. With all these potential costs, should you ever consider getting divorced? Divorce may seem great compared to moments of conflict within the marriage, but most of the time, the answer is no. Note that I am by no means idealising marriage. Some marriages can be toxic, and I accept that they must be dissolved. Some problems just can't be fixed, but the chances are that this is not the case for 99% of divorces. To the women and men contemplating if you are in this 1%, if you or your children are being sexually or severely physically abused, the answer is no. The reason divorce is being contemplated more often in the 21st century is because people allow themselves to personify one or more of the following 4 bad attitudes. Bad attitude number 1. Fear of missing out. Generally, you suffer from this more in imagination than in reality. What's bothering you is not that you're actually missing out, but it's the fear that you're missing out. Like all fears, it can be destructive if it's not conquered. Bad attitude number 2. The grass is always greener. People begin to fantasize about how their life could be better with someone else or without a significant other altogether. The unknown world of possibilities and dreams always seems more appealing than the known realities you currently exist in. Unfortunately, through the idealisation of people's lives on social media, people commonly believe that their life would be better if only for X, Y, or Z. Divorced people commonly exaggerate just how happy they are post-divorce. They deny their unhappiness to justify their decision because the alternative is just too hard to accept. Unfortunately, when people see something appealing for the first time, they are likely to idealise it and neglect the imperfections that make that thing not so great. Over time, they come to realise that the grass is not as green as they originally thought it was. The grass can be greener where you are. You just need to tend to it a little and look after it. New grass is fresher, but it's not always necessarily greener, especially once you've spent some time grazing on it. Bad attitude number 3. People are lazy. Many people will opt out instead of trying to fix a broken relationship. This is immediately more comfortable than working through difficult circumstances. Marriages will increasingly end because of this attitude due to the increasing laziness of the population. Bad attitude number 4. Ending is better than mending. With the push to keep the global economy strong, the consumerist nature of ending is better than mending has translated across from retail to relationships. If a relationship is broken, it's becoming more acceptable to just end the relationship rather than mending it. The semi-permanent nature of marriage has resulted in a lack of effort to mend a broken relationship. Historically, being married to someone was for life, and this forced two people to work together on fixing something that was broken. If marriage really was until death, you had to fix things, because the alternative is to be stuck in a miserable cancerous marriage for 40 odd years until an early grave. The second option of fixing the marriage is more immediately unpleasant. You'll need to spend a few years resolving active issues, but it's well worth the investment. How long this takes will depend on the type of issues and the length of time that these issues have been unresolved. You may reach a state of this resolution where you do in fact acknowledge irreconcilable differences. At least with this method, you can have some sort of resolution, and you can take these lessons learned and apply them to future relationships with a clean slate. The final thing that you need to consider if you decide to proceed down the path of divorce is that it's almost impossible to completely divorce yourself from your ex if you've had children. You'll separate, of course, but your children will always tie you together while they're all living. This means that you'll never truly get the same freedom you were seeking to retrieve from your life before marriage. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 107, I'll be talking about the deficiencies that I see in modern women and how you can plug these deficiencies in your daughter. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.